You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I hope you are ready for some goodness dropped into your ears. This week, I am talking to Nate from Stahman Guitars. This dude is an incredible guitar tech here in the Pacific Northwest. I met him many years ago, very briefly, and started following him because he was one of the local techs in the neighborhood, and I thought it would be a good thing to stay in contact with those types of people. You never know when you might need a little guitar repair. What I didn't expect was, not too long after that, for this dude to be dropping nuggets of wisdom into my Instagram feed. Not just about guitars, not just about, well, you know, musical things, but about life, but about business, but about just keeping a good headspace. And I could tell we were following along in his journey as well. And I thought, hey, let's get him on the podcast. Nate struck me as a guy who would benefit from a little longer platform than an Instagram post will allow for. And I was right. This was a really, really great chat. He brought some thoughts out of me that I wasn't expecting, and I enjoyed getting to know him better. So, without further ado, let's get into this episode with Nate from Stahman Guitars. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar stuff occasionally. Sometimes I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Nate Wood of Stahman Guitars. What is happening, my dude?
What is up?
So, for everybody that's listening / watching, Nate and I met for about 5 seconds. Okay, maybe 5 minutes. But a long time ago when you were teching here at Old Town Music in Portland. And then you're like, I got to get out of here. The people like him are going to come in here. And you left Portland and moved away. And it was a little bit, I don't know. I feel like it was a couple years. Maybe this timeline's off, so correct me if I'm wrong. But you started actually publishing more content. I don't know, maybe a few years after that or a year after you actually moved away. And I think you occupy kind of an interesting space in the Lutherie world, and that's why I wanted to get you on and get the story.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think I definitely changed what I was talking about, I guess, content-wise, after I moved, a couple years after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what's the Nate story, though? When did you start playing, and how did you decide that you wanted to start being a guitar mechanic?
I started playing music via piano because I grew up in Utah, which obviously means most likely I grew up Mormon, which is accurate. So it was like important to my elders that I learned how to play the piano. Mm-hmm. So I was raised by my great grandma, significant portion of it. And she would just kind of sit on the couch and have me practice piano and tell me when it was wrong, when I need to start over.
Was this to play in church, or was it just kind of part of the culture?
Yeah, the hope is that everyone learns piano and then you can do it in church.
The whole church learns piano.
There's just, it's at least in where I lived in Utah, it was like so many kids learn piano growing up, and it does have to do with, you know, playing in church. Like everyone kind of hopes that like their kid's gonna be like the one that's playing music.
Gotcha.
But I don't know, piano didn't excite me that much at that time, but it did help me kind of understand how guitars, you know, could play music.
Yeah.
And and I got into the Scorpions for a while when I was a kid. So I wanted to play like the Scorpions. And you know, eventually I was kind of just became multi-instrumentalist, not expansively, but like guitar, bass, piano. And played in bands. Ended up like, you know, vacating church life completely. And at one point I was just like, I worked in a lot of interesting jobs. Like I worked for a jewelry company for a while, making jewelry, and was kind of trying to be an artist in multiple mediums. And with the band stuff, I was playing in a lot of bands that partied pretty hard. And what sort of motivated me to get into Lutherie was more of a, I have to get out of where I live.
Okay.
Because I could just see like my life starting to spiral. So I ended up, I gave myself the option of either learning how to be a silversmith, like traditional, like Southwest style jewelry was what I was into at the time.
That's cool.
I was like, I want to either do that or build guitars. And I don't think either path would have been particularly lucrative, but I thought at the time that the guitar one would be more lucrative. So that's the one that I chose.
No, that's rare. People just thinking that the guitar is going to be more lucrative.
Yeah. I mean, like, I've always been a little bit of an idealist, even though I can simultaneously be kind of a, what would you call it? Like, not necessarily a pessimist, but something like that. But I often have some pretty lofty hopes and ideals. So drove down to Phoenix in a van and went to Roberto Van. And
Nice.
After Roberto Van, which was in 2011, like January was when that started. Came back to Utah after that and got an apprenticeship with Ryan Thorell, building like archtop guitars mostly. Some pretty fancy, cool stuff. And I worked with Ryan for 2.5 years, I think, before I was released out into the world. And that was when I moved to Portland,
Gotcha.
2014.
What drew you to Portland?
Honestly, I don't think I had any ideas. I was just like, my brother used to live in Portland. I'll just go there. And I did. And it was weird. It was like it did not go smoothly when I moved to Portland. Yeah, I was like living van life and not by choice.
Ah, I see.
The person that said I could live with them when I got there hadn't talked to their roommates.
Oh, no.
So I rolled up and I was like pretty excited to, you know, have a place to live and meet my new roommates. And the dude introduced me to the household as, this is my friend Nate. He's just passing through. I was like, what the
What? You're like, hold on. I was passing through to that room, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think when I met you, I was living in a building, but the first like 5 months or so, I was not, and that was pretty hard. But
so when we met, you hadn't even been there that long, right? Okay. I'm trying to get this timeline in my head right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like I met you probably. I think Chris had left Old Town by the time I met you, so it was probably about a year in.
That
I
sounds
think.
vaguely right. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I had even started doing like online content at all at that point or not, or maybe I had just gotten started. I know 2015 is when I started doing it,
Mhm.
in March, but I don't even know if the podcast was like up and doing stuff yet.
Yeah, that makes sense because I do remember Chris bringing you up in some context, but I hadn't met you, so I didn't know who he was talking about.
Chris was on episode 2.
Oh,
So
nice.
that might have been the context in which he brought it up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We were sitting up in his attic sweating and recording this podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, so you were there at Old Town for a while, and you worked at. Did you work at any other shops in town, or did you just work there?
I did. The one that I was happy about was what's it called? Oh my god. There used to be on Belmont, the 12th fret.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was occasionally doing work for them. I was not like full time there or anything. I was just kind of like a stopgap measure when Russ was gone because the other dudes didn't like to work on Floyd's or electrical stuff. And I was like, hell yeah, dude, I love that.
You're a glutton for punishment. You love the Floyds.
Dude, there's something. I used to make fun of Floyd's like so much. I thought they were so dumb when I was in my apprenticeship, when I was like making the fancy archtop guitars. And it wasn't until working at Old Town, I just said yes to like everything that came across my bench at Old Town. So I ended up saying yes to a lot of people that had been told no by older luthiers in the area. So I ended up doing a lot of things that were weird, like regular scale length guitar, but tune it like a baritone and put a Floyd and have like a invader in the bridge or something.
Yeah.
So and I was always just in my head kind of making fun of how ridiculous and dumb it was. And I remember the exact guitar that like changed my whole world was this bright yellow BC Rich Gunslinger. And the dude had me set it up in B standard and put an invader in the I think those only have a bridge pickup.
I think
so. Remember right.
Yeah.
But I got it done and was ready to hate it and played it for like 5 seconds and was like, I gotta get one of these. And that just changed everything for me. I went from being like, I think that was the beginning of a lot of change for me, was being shown how snooty and judgmental I had been. And I think that was a protection mechanism for me for the first for at least the first 5 years or so, if not a little longer than that, that I did this work. There was a whole lot of like manufactured ego and judgment to try to keep myself insulated from learning hard lessons.
Right, learning how to set up a Floyd.
Yeah, and then you learn the hard lessons, and it's if you're open to what they're teaching you, you can really kind of ease into a more enjoyable existence after that. At least that's how it worked for me.
Yeah. It's weird how I think that's just a byproduct of getting older too. There's definitely a lot of dumb theories that I had about bands and music and guitars too, that I look back now and like, and I thought that because based on what experience? Based on what? Just, oh no, you just thought that because somebody probably told it to you one time. And so then you thought that forever. And then you have a different experience and you realize that you're wrong. And hopefully as you get older and you have more of those experiences, you can become less judgmental, I think, is probably the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely lends itself to like a more enjoyable life if you don't have to throw a label of good or bad onto everything, cool or lame or whatever you want to call it. That it just shoots down so many opportunities for fun,
Yeah. And we need to try to have more fun. I think the world is heavy enough. I think more fun would be a good priority for the whole world, really. I was going to say the US, but really the whole world.
Yeah. Chilling out's a good thing.
It is.
Trying to see like the good instead of the bad, and trying to label less.
Yeah. Well, and it seems, especially in the times we're going through these last few years, it's real easy to see all the bad stuff that's going on. But I often wonder if it's actually more bad than it's ever been. I actually have a theory that we just know about it more. I think there's always been a lot of chaos going on in the world forever. And we just didn't have access to it in our pockets 24/7 the way that we have for the last, about decade or so. That's why it feels like it's getting worse. But in reality, there's always been a lot of crazy stuff going on. But your day to day kind of doesn't change that much most of the time.
Yeah, at least for us where we are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's not to minimize anybody's struggles or any problems that are going on. I just think that we tend to feel like the world's on fire when in the Western world, most of the time it's not. Like, it's kind of
right. And even if it is, it's fine to acknowledge that it is.
Yeah.
The hard part is to not let it immobilize you.
Yes.
Because there are like horrible things happening, and to be aware of them can be pretty oppressive, feeling like pretty put you in a freeze.
Yeah.
But in order to be effective, if you want to help anything, or if you want to make change, you also have to take care of yourself.
100%.
And that's, I think, why even if we look outside of our region and you look in the areas where things are going horribly wrong, you see people playing music because it's a way to connect with other people and like disconnect from the horrible stuff that is going on. It's one of the few things we have that, it doesn't really matter what language or culture is yours. You can still engage with people in music, even when you are faced with some super gnarly stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's part of one of the many reasons why it's a wonderful thing, right? We get to always have that with us at any point, regardless of what's going on for the most part. But when you decided to, this is kind of switching gears a little bit, but I think on the same line of thinking, what I meant in the beginning when I said that you do different style of content than maybe some other luthiers, what I meant by that was like you focus on some business stuff, like more general business stuff, but you also focus on some mindset stuff as well. What made you start wanting to make that kind of content?
I think a lot of it's like looking back on how I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, a lot of what I talk about is just geared towards either current me or past me, and the struggles of friends that I talk to that are doing the same work or even unrelated, yeah, life can just be pretty damn difficult sometimes, and it's easy to take some unhealthy approaches to work. Work is like a area, at least in the US, that's like, that grind hustle, the grind set stuff that just, I don't think helps anyone. I don't think we're actually built to do that sort of thing. And the times in my life where I was more acting in alignment with the grind set were probably some of the darker times.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just hope to give people alternative ways to look at things that aren't that, but also aren't lazy.
Mhm.
Because either extreme is bad, and to be sort of like be sort of Buddhist about it and choose your non-duality route there and
Right.
exist between there somewhere that's like healthy, where you can take care of yourself and take care of your business and whoever you need to. A lot of people are you're responsible for other people as well. A lot of what I say is an attempt at trying to help people relax and look at things in a more healthy way.
It's the grind set thing is interesting because you're right. I think people tend to view it as one way or another. You either grind or you sit on the couch. And there's no reason that it doesn't have to be that way. I think what is valuable about the like kind of grinding mindset, as somebody who's definitely went through periods of that, is it helps you realize what you're capable of when you need to be. If you can adapt to that and really put forth a lot of effort into something rather singular for an extended period of time, you can get some pretty tremendous results out of that. But at the same time, I don't know a single human being who can do that forever. Like, even the ones that claim to be able to can't actually do it indefinitely. And I think having maybe periods of grind throughout your life with the goal being that you're not going to have to do that forever is kind of the ideal situation, at least for how my brain's wired. Because, with String Joy and then with even this show and all the other shows I'm doing now, some of the questions I get are like, well, how did you do that? And with all of it, it's like, well, it's real simple. All I had to do was work 4 full-time jobs for like 3.5 years. That's all I had to do.
Yeah.
And
Because if you do
that
what
was,
you love, you never work a day in your life, man.
and it was unsustainable. At the end of that, I wish I could have done it a little longer. Financially speaking, it would have been better, and I would have been better set up to go full time on my own. But I was mentally and physically at the end of my rope by the end of that period, and I had to make a decision: keep doing this or let go of something. And so I let go of the traditional 9-to-5 lifestyle, which was a little bit scary because that's all I'd ever done. But I think recognizing when it's time for that to be over is just as important as having the ability to start it.
Yeah. And something that you talked about right there that I think is important to point out is that everything else on the planet has like ebbs and flows and has a seasonality to it. And it's reasonable to have that in your life too. You can have periods where you're going really hard, but you need to follow that with a period that's not that.
Mm-hmm.
Or you end up in a place that's not great. And I've seen that a lot in my life, and we'll leave who it is out of it. But,
sure.
I've just observed that a lot, especially with people that run their own businesses. You get into a weird thought trap where you believe that the only way to achieve stability at all is going to be to constantly grind forever. And you end up, a lot of people do, in a position where maybe you are totally set, but you're too afraid to stop. So I think embracing that sort of like back and forth seasonality to things is a lot more healthy than trying to commit and be the same the same way and the same person every single day for every single year for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I think it's important if you have the ability, there's always that caveat there, to like, I would never take time off if I didn't make myself take time off.
Mm-hmm.
I like doing most of the stuff that I do. So why would I take time off from that? But I think time off makes you better in some ways, especially with creative endeavors, at those things that you were wanting to do. And this just happened recently. My kids really wanted to go on a trip this summer. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll get that figured out at some point. And then my mom was like, hey, if you don't put that on the calendar, you're not going to do it. I was like, oh, you're right. And immediately was like, flip the switch. I'm booking this trip now. Like right now, like I'm booking it. Like I'm going to pick the week. We're booking the trip. That way, I mean, life could happen. I could, so things could change, but at least it's on the calendar now. And it's very likely going to happen now. I mean, even like this podcast, put it on the calendar. All right, it's happening now. If you don't schedule your breaks, you might not get them until your body or brain forces you to take it. And that's never the way you want to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Hey, Rocky.
What's up, Vincent?
Did you hear about the latest?
Latest what?
The latest drop from Maris. It's totally insane.
No, tell me more.
Maris just released Enzo X.
What's that?
Enzo X is a supernova expansion from the original Enzo into the highest quality and most flexible studio synthesizer ever created in a pedal format.
Whoa!
Enzo X combines 5 synth types, 5 drives, 3 reverbs, and 5 modulations. It also includes a full 2.5 second stereo delay, all in one pedal.
That sounds hard to use.
It's not. The UI is from the same family as the Mercury X and the LVX. It's super easy to dive in and see exactly what you are tweaking in real time.
Oh, I see. It's right there on the screen.
Yep.
Is it just for guitars, though?
Nope. You can plug almost anything into the Enzo X, including your MIDI controller.
That sounds incredible. Where do I get it?
You can pick up Enzo X online at maris.us or at any of their fine retailers across the globe.
Did you just say across the globe?
They know what I meant.
Wait, are we getting paid for this?
I'm still waiting on that cash money from last time.
He better at least give us pizza for dinner.
I'm not giving him his Enzo X back until he does.
For more information, make sure you check out maris.us, and apparently I have to go order a pizza. How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label. But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services, and it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there. We are brought to you today by Sweetwater, specifically the Gear Exchange. You may have heard about this. This is a place where you can go to buy and sell your used gear. Maybe you got a pedal over there that's just kind of collecting dust. Maybe there's something you've been eyeing from the Sweetwater catalog. Well, right now is a great time to turn that unused gear into something you're actually going to use. Even better, if you sell on the Gear Exchange, you can keep 100% of the sale as long as you choose a Sweetwater gift card as your payout method. That is not too shabby because, let's be honest, most of this buying and selling we do is just to fund new gear purchases, and that is a great way to reach a wide variety of customers and keep 100% in your pocket, or rather on your pedal board. So go check out the Sweetwater Gear Exchange and turn that unused gear into something that's actually going to help you write that next huge riff.
So when you stopped working with the other shops and started doing things a little more independently, though I guess kind of technically you're always a contractor in those situations.
Yeah. And at least in my experience, that's not everyone's, but that was my experience.
Yeah, I think that's the way it is around here for whatever reason. But when you started just like fully, going off your own kind of client list and doing your own thing, was that freaky to not have the flow of customers coming into the stores to feed you, or were you pretty well set by that point?
Well, the hard thing for me was I moved.
Sure, that's challenging.
So, I gave Old Town like a 9-month notice that I was gonna move. And
that's
then
even better than like the 4-month one I gave my boss. That's
yeah. But yeah, the struggle was that I left that place that just kind of pulled in customers for me, and then I moved 2 hours away or something, 2.25, whatever it is. To a place where no one like knew I existed, even if they knew that I did, they didn't know I was there.
Sure.
So the first year was like extremely brutal. Was like very hard. I honestly don't even know how it worked. It was like all I know when I look back is that I was like emotionally not great.
Yeah.
Cause I was, the house that I got where I moved, not a great house. Needed an insane amount of work just to make it okay. It was like kind of collapsing when I bought it, but it was the only one I could get a loan for.
I feel that. Yeah.
So yeah, I was like kind of repairing a house and trying to build out a shop and get customers like simultaneously
in a brand new place.
Yeah. And the time that it actually finally started to work, I think, was about a little over a year after I moved to Springfield. I started renting a shop on Main Street in the downtown area here. And just having that exposure on the Main Street helped quite a lot. And I ended up closing that shop during COVID because I was pretty sick of getting yelled at by various people no matter what I did.
Yeah, you're never in that situation. You're not making anybody happy. You follow the regulation. You don't follow the regulation. Whatever. Like
exactly,
somebody's mad. Yep.
Wear a mask, get yelled at. Don't wear a mask, get yelled at. And I was just like, no, I'm over this. I'm out of here. And then I moved everything back to my garage, and I had laid my garage out in a way just for building guitars, which is it sounds weird, but it's a completely different workflow and completely nonsensical when you try to transfer that same workflow to repairing guitars.
No, that makes sense.
And it took me, honestly, I feel like I didn't really have it laid out well for guitar repair until like 2 years ago. It basically took me like 3 years almost to get it dialed in for that specifically. I think it's because I was emotionally kind of anchored in maybe one day I'll start building guitars again. And so I was like a little afraid of getting rid of some of my like really large machine tools, but now those are all gone and life is more chill than it has ever been as far as business goes.
Nice. Love that. So when you say the layout's different, I think I can picture some of what that looks like, but for those that maybe like, oh, isn't that the same thing? You got to have the same stuff, right? What do you mean? Like, what did you get rid of? What did you reorient?
for me, the way I learned how to build guitars when I worked with Ryan Thorell, there was a lot of table saw and a lot of pin router involved. So pin router is like sometimes also called an overarm router. It's like a large tool. It is a tool that lives on the ground and is taller than your average person in a lot of cases. And the router, the cutter comes down from above, and there's a pin in the table, and they're centered. So you can do really interesting things with the pin router that you cannot do with other tools. They used to make like everything with pin routers, and now you don't need that because there's CNCs. But
Right.
I really like pin routers a lot. So I had a pin router that I actually bought from Chris, the old owner of the 12th fret before John. And I had like a huge thickness sander that was, I think, 20 inches wide.
Oh, wow.
Took up a ton of floor space. Both of those did. I had a table saw with an outfeed table that was also like a glue up station. And keep in mind, all of these things are happening in a space that's like barely over 200 square feet.
It's like a 2-car garage.
It's like a one car. Yeah. So, I have all these huge machine tools and dust collectors, and I still need benches to do work on. So,
Sure.
What I sort of learned was that I could begin to get rid of those tools and not put anything there. That was the hardest part, was to get rid of those tools and appreciate the fact that I could then turn around without bumping into something.
Mm-hmm.
And it made everyone's life better. Like when I have people come in to drop off or pick up a guitar, it's much safer. Actually, I had an OSHA inspector in here dropping his guitar off. He wasn't inspecting me, but he dropped a guitar off, and he's like, I just want you to know, this is the cleanest, like safest Lutherie shop I've ever seen. And I've been
Nice.
I've been in your competitors' spaces. So more in repair, it's actually more to me about cleanliness and process separation. And building guitars, until you reach the finishing stage, dude, there's cross-contamination and dust everywhere. It's kind of a free-for-all, and I do love that. One of my favorite things is to just like put on some heavier music and make a whole lot of dust, just be in a cloud of dust. But it was never very lucrative to be in that position, though. And now just having like kind of dedicated benches. I have 3 benches, each with a sort of specific intent, and just trying to be extremely organized, keep the space comfortable, and most importantly, able to be clean. Because when you're repairing something that already exists, if you damage it, it's extremely difficult to recover. Mm-hmm. In a guitar building process, as long as you haven't really started the finish work, it's almost infinitely recoverable if you know what you're doing. You can make some big oopsies and really come back. Mm-hmm. But if you're starting with something that is like a brand new PRS and it's like glossy and flawless, you can't set that down on a pile of screwdrivers or something and
Right.
be okay. So, in the fabrication of guitars, just the way that I do it, I don't want to like insinuate that other people are just nasty, dirty guitar makers like I tend to be. But the way that I go about it, I enjoy making a lot of dust and mess. It's like the one area of my life I feel like I can do that. But in repair, you don't have that luxury. You have to be preserving every single thing that's coming through the shop because people really care about these things. They already exist and they already have, in a lot of cases, decades of story behind them. And if you destroy part of that story, it's a really big problem.
Yeah, and everybody's going to hear about it too.
Yes.
Like, yes.
Yep.
Like
it's terrifying. And the thing that a lot of customers are not okay with, that they need to engage with the reality of, is that everyone makes mistakes.
No.
And even they do, right?
No.
It's like we all expect everyone to give us infinite grace if we have a little, but when it's someone else, they have to be perfect because I'm paying them money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a fuck up at your job, you're like, dude, my job's just really hard and I didn't get enough sleep last night. So it's an interesting thing to try to like talk to customers about. I have a lot of times when people will enter my space and the first thing they want to do is talk some other luthier and whoever it was they just worked with. They want to tell me how that person's stupid and shouldn't work on guitars or is like ripping people off or whatever. And I always just stop them and I'm like, hey, if you're looking for someone who's never made a mistake, you really got to leave.
Right.
Because, most of the time I nail it. Most of the time it's coming out of here perfect. But if you believe that anyone on the planet can do any job without up a certain percentage of the time, you're being pretty unrealistic.
Well, and I think some of it too is where more experienced luthiers have a way of setting expectations. Because the first guitar I ever had work done on, I'll admit I was nervous about having work done on it because it was my grandpa's 1955 Les Paul Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'll get this fixed for you, Granddad. And it was, doing the classic, the bridge posts leaning forward thing. And I was like, I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to get somebody to do it. And I took it to Fretworks, actually. And what they did was they did a great job, first of all. But one of the main things they did, and if they hadn't done this, I might have been a little bit upset. I mean, I was a teenager at the time. Mm-hmm. They set the expectation, like, listen, when we pull these out, some of the finish is probably going to crack around this a little bit, just so you know. Mm-hmm. This is a thing that will probably happen. And I had enough like woodworking and mechanical skills to understand, like, I don't see how it doesn't. Like, I like, I'm sure that it probably will. And it was minimal, but it was there and it's still there. And if they hadn't told me that and I come in and see that after the fact, then you're, as a customer who doesn't know that much about it, you're like, what'd you do? You broke it. Yep, like you ruined it. So I think setting those expectations is like part of the job. And I know that you do that.
Yeah. The paperwork I have people sign, I haven't had many people. I don't think I've ever had anyone not sign it, but I have had people want to really talk about it.
Yeah.
Because
fair enough.
It does in my little contract, it's like sometimes things happen. And even if I do a job that is, top-notch job, alterations are being made to this thing by me touching it. Mm-hmm. If I refret this instrument, it's going to look like it was refretted. People will be able to tell.
Yep.
If they know what they're looking for. And if I am to refret this guitar in a way where it's actually going to play debatably perfectly, it's going to be super obvious because it'll be better than it was from the factory. There's all sorts of things that need to be talked about. I've even got a clause in there where, like, you you gotta acknowledge that, like, if you believe in all these like intricacies of tone, if I'm going to be, say, gluing like a TJ Thompson style cleat, I know that they don't like to call them cleats, but they literally are cleats. Sorry to any luthiers. Anyone who disagrees with me will have to send me a really long treatise on how those things are not cleats, because they're literally cleats. Anyways, it's what I'm talking about, in case someone doesn't know. Sometimes in an acoustic guitar situation, if you've got a long split, it's very long, and it's you have some second thoughts about whether or not that crack will be perfectly stable on its own when glued. It's totally reasonable to reinforce it on the inside, as long as you do it in a thoughtful and functional fashion. And TJ Thompson has come up with a way to do it that I think is super genius. And it's a support that you glue on the inside that essentially spans the length of the crack. Now, if you're someone who is extremely nerdy about tone, and you're always like in your head about maybe the new fret wire made my guitar sound bad, or maybe, tusk is better than bone for whatever reason, maybe you'll hear, or even just believe that you hear, a difference because you know that there's something altered. So I have in my contract a little section about that. Even I try to touch on everything I can. Like, if I'm going to go get dental work done, when I got my wisdom teeth out, I basically signed a contract that said I was acknowledging that it's a possibility I could die in the chair. So I'm not going to then do my job and pretend like I have never scratched an instrument on accident. There's weird, lofty expectations sometimes from certain people, and it's far from everyone, but it's also important, when talking to people, no matter your job, if you're a self-employed individual and you have a particular skill set and, particular mannerisms that might not vibe with everyone, I think it's important to know which jobs and which requests and which people to try to not engage with, and just let them know that, like, you might not be the right fit. That actually has been, for me, it was originally probably the hardest lesson for me to learn, but it's been the most like blood pressure reducing lesson of my life. It's been super helpful just to know that if I turn down a job that does not seem like a good idea, another job will come through the door. But, younger me was terrified of doing that. And then all of a sudden everyone in town knows that, like, Nate says no sometimes. So maybe we just shouldn't go to him.
Right. It's something weird about any kind of business where you'll end up, especially I think in the guitar space, because for some reason we have this, and it's sort of true, but it's also sort of not. We have this idea that, like, custom is better, so, even with Stringjoy, like, our whole first thing we ever did was custom string sets. That was like the idea. That is a portion of our business still, but people will probably notice we don't offer that across the whole line anymore. We only do that with the stuff that we always offered it as custom, basically, because that is a really challenging and difficult business model to actually make work in a production sense. And I didn't fully understand that back in the day. Like, as we got more experience and like built out the manufacturing and all this stuff, we're like, if this is all we did, we'd have to charge way, way more for it to make it even make any sense at all. So it's a good thing that that's not most of our business now. So we don't have to do that. And it also kind of scrapped the idea. I had this fantasy where I was like, we're going to have at some point this whole department whose whole job is to handle the jobs that we get requests for that I feel bad telling them we can't do. like a full blown actual custom shop where anything was possible, basically. Because the amount of requests that we get for, and I'm going to just say some ridiculous example, but this is not that far off. Some like, oh, I'm making this 54-inch scale length, 37 string octave bass guitar mandolin. I've already made it. Can I get strings for it? And we're just like, no. Like, like, I feel bad because it's physically possible. We would just have to shut down the entire production line for 3 days to make it for you. So yes, we can make it for you. It will be $30,000, and is that worth it to you? Probably not at the end of the day. But I wish we could serve those people. Like, I have this weird thing inside of me that I'm like, this person put so much effort and time into this. I wish we could help them, but we can't. And I had to slowly over time relinquish the idea that we might be able to have that department that could handle that. Because I realized if we did, it would just be a money pit. That's all it would be.
Yeah. And a lot of small businesses operate in the money pit constantly because they don't know what their numbers even are.
Yes. I would argue in our space, maybe more than half don't know what their numbers are.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Good Hertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblissaudio.com. I think you're going to like what you find.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, like in Luth World, do you know of Doug Proper, guitar specialist in New York?
I know the name for sure.
Doug is like an absolute angel sent from heaven to help like other luthiers, because we have a group called the Luth Group. It's like worldwide trade organization. You pay monthly dues and a lot of really cool benefits with it. But we talk a lot about the business side of things. And one of the things Doug brings up quite often is it's common for, I think, all businesses, the owner to call around or look online, whatever they're doing, to see what everyone else is charging to then set your prices.
Mm-hmm.
And Doug's response is always like, well, do you know if they're profitable?
Right.
Do you know what their bank account looks like? Do you know if they have, say, like a super rich spouse? or grandparents that are paying for it. Like there's a whole lot of variables when you go into business that you only know your own.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know your own, like you've never done the math on what it takes for you to live per month, which is pretty common. You can't even set your own prices at all. But, and I'm sure you've gone through this, but like to know how to price anything, you have to start knowing what your numbers are. And you almost need to work backwards from what you want to make per year. So you need to start knowing what you need and then work backwards in order to get to what that margin needs to be per piece or per job or per hour, however you're billing. And dude, the number of people that are just pricing based off someone who hasn't changed their prices since 1998 and, already paid their house off because they bought it when it was cheap. Like it can just cause all sorts of chaos in your business if you don't know where you're starting from.
100%. Yeah. I mean, there's so many variables. A lot of people do this as a retirement hobby job just to keep busy. That person doesn't need to get paid the same. They just don't. And that's not a dig at any of these situations. It's just everybody's got a different situation. And so I love that Doug said that. And I would actually take it even a step further, because what you guys do is more like service oriented work, and you're thinking about it in the context of doing all of the stuff yourself, or maybe with a small crew. Where when I'm talking to like physical products businesses in our space or out of it, I'm like, well, you don't need to just think about what you want to take home. Like you actually should try to build this to where you don't have to be there at all. Even if you are going to be there the whole time, because that will enable you to have healthier numbers across the board. So build it to sell, even if you're not going to sell it, basically, is my general. Like, you don't have to start there. Almost nobody can, but that should be like the guiding light.
Yep. And if you are a solo operator, you can also look at it from the perspective of what happens when you are in a crosswalk and get hit by a truck.
Yes.
Like,
that's great. Yes.
Say
it's morbid, but it's a good thought.
Say you don't die, right? What if you don't die? And you're forced to then live through that, but also who's going to cover everything for you? So you need to have some amount of padding, because eventually, younger people, you and I understand because we've been young and we've been how old we are right now. Like younger us would have been like, whatever, I don't ever get hurt. And every time I do, I'm fine like 2 hours later.
When I get hit by a car, I'm okay.
Yeah. But like the older you get, like sometimes nothing happens to you and part of your body just goes haywire. So, and that only increases.
I mean,
the longer
I was
you're
just
alive.
sick for a week. If I was doing that kind of thing, I'd have to take that into account, right? I mean, I'm still kind of sick. Sorry, everybody. That's why I sound like this. But that is a really good way to think about it, because a lot of people will build up a business, and we've ran into this a few times lately where we've had people contact us that want to sell their business, and we're like, oh, we'd maybe be interested in this, but this doesn't work without you, and you want out of it. So so when you list out this profit, all of the profit that you're talking about is just your salary. So as the new owners, we just have to hire somebody for that same amount of money to run it. And now there's nothing left, but we just paid you however much money for the business, and we're never going to see it back. So that's what I'm talking about and what you're talking about, where you got to build that in. And it's not, I'm only saying this because this is not stuff I used to think about. So just for anybody listening, think about that.
Yeah, I think that the culture of musicians also, it breeds a lot of people who start their own businesses, because they also a lot of times are writing their own songs and trying to do things in their own unique way. But dude, I would say like almost zero of us have any guidance business wise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was just like flailing and pissing myself for the first like 10 years of doing this.
Right.
It's only been the last like 4 or 5 where things have started to make sense. And it's because I had to just like put my ego away for a little bit and start talking to older people that have been doing this kind of work for decades longer than me.
Mm-hmm.
And also important to be selective with which elder statesman of your trade you decide to pay attention to. You want to pay attention to the one that is financially stable and not the one that's like about to have a heart attack, and you know it's a stress induced heart attack because they can't survive doing the thing that they're actually very good at. Like they're not valuing their work quite well enough.
I think that goes across the board, whether you want to get in the guitar business or you want to have a career in finance or whatever, anything. Don't take advice from people who you don't want to end up like. Just generally speaking. I had to learn that. I had the opposite, actually. I did take the advice of somebody I didn't want to end up like, because he told me, you don't want to end up like me. And I was like, you know what? You're right. So
yeah, I had a similar experience. Like I used to, for a while, I worked doing video work. So I like worked doing TV stuff kind of for a bit. And I was doing like editing and switching and stuff like that. And yeah, post mostly. But at one point I was like offered this job by we'll call them a video hardware company from one of their dudes that like travels the world and does demos. Well, he's dead now, so he doesn't travel or do demos anymore, but he used to when he wasn't dead. And he was trying to get me to take over for him. And I remember him like grabbing me by the shoulders and like shaking me a little bit. And he's like, live my life, see the world, live how I live. And I remember in that moment seeing like just the most tired looking, like staring me in the face. And I was just like, dude, there's no way.
That's funny.
And the amount of money they were offering me, I'm still not touching that. Like I'm still nowhere near making that. And I remember turning the job offer down and just like crying after I hung up the phone, being like, I'm going to hate myself later. Like there's going to be a time in the future where I really need that money. But, glad I turned it down. Yeah. I haven't got to the point where I hate myself for that yet.
Yep. Well, hey, that's a good sign. Yeah, it's funny because the guy that told me that also was very tired. But he specifically said, he looked at me and he said, you got to get out of here. You don't want to be me. And I was looking at him like, I like you as a person, but you're absolutely right. I don't want to be you. And yeah, it was just a weird thing to stare down the barrel of being like, if I continue down this path, and this is the path that I've tried to be on my whole working career, it was a good job. The best case scenario is in 10 years, I end up on graveyard shift for like 20 years. And I'm like, I don't want to be on graveyard shift for 20. Some people love graveyard shift. I am not one of them. And I was just like kind of doing the math on everything. And I'm like, this is not going to like, the last 5 years of my career in this field will be awesome. And everything else will be kind of sucky.
Yeah.
Is that what I want to work towards? It's to have the bulk of my days for the next 25 to 30 years be kind of sucky at most days? Is that what I'm really trying to do with my life? Like, I think I got to do something else. You're right. Shout out Gordy. Thanks for giving me that little glimpse into the future.
Hell yeah.
I don't know if he'll ever hear this, but but he might. Wow, we really, this cooked right on through. Didn't realize we were this close to the end of the episode. And we got some classic questions that I like to wrap up every episode with. But before I do it, I like to give the guests the chance to like take the stage. You know, you're talking to a few thousand people right now. You can shout out anybody you want to shout out, plug anything you want to plug. The floor is yours.
Oh man, that's a lot. You know, I think all I want to say is make sure you take care of yourself.
There you go. I like that. That's good. It's good advice. Good advice. All right, final questions. Here we go. First one. What is your favorite Boss pedal?
DD7.
Ooh, the DD7. Nice pull. The DD series is underrated, in my opinion, across the board. I think it's a great sounding unit from the DD2 all the way up. I think it's great.
Yeah.
What do you like about the DD7 specifically?
You know, this probably makes some people think my taste is bad, but I just don't like analog delay, dude.
Oh, that's fair. You like the crisper repeats.
Yeah. I want a little clone repeats.
I
don't want them to sound all weird. And I
Want
played
it to
the
sound
note I
like-
wanted to play.
Yeah.
Just repeat that one.
I already did it for you. All right, final question. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
Oh, man. Has anybody ever said that they don't really like pizza?
No, not one
God.
person.
I don't really
You're not going to
like
be
pizza,
that guy,
though.
are you? You're not going to be the I don't like pizza guy. are
Have you ever seen my food posts?
Probably.
See, I'm like such a snob about food, and it's mostly just like we don't need to go into it, but
I mean, it sounds like we do actually.
I like what I can respect about pizza is it's often colorful.
Yes.
I like my food to be colorful.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I don't like eat a lot of cheese. I don't like eat a lot of whole lot of baked stuff. I do once in a while.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, dude, my diet is mostly just like vegetables and grains and sometimes some other stuff.
Some other stuff.
Like I only deviate from my standard like probably healthy diet when I'm like on bike tours. Like if I'm like in the middle of the desert and I've been biking for like 4 days and all there is like a bunch of Hostess things, I'll eat them.
You kind of need calories at that point.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
But on the daily, dude, I'm just like, give me some vegetables on top of like some barley or quinoa or something. And I'm going to be a happy guy.
Hey, if you're happy with it, that's all that matters, I guess.
It's just like it's like a pizza nymph, you know, like really it's the grains haven't been turned into anything yet.
They're not dough yet.
And there's still stuff on top of them. It's just like earlier pizza life cycle, I guess.
What about some like classy, like a, you know, like one of those wood fired, just kind of Italian style pizzas, and you just put the very basic stuff on it, but the flavors are all done really well. Still not your thing.
I just don't get excited about it. I'm not anti-pizza. I don't want anyone to think I hate pizza or that I judge people who eat it. I don't like ever wax nostalgic for pizza.
Wow. I do all the time. Interesting. I'm thinking about it right now. Well, this is an episode first, everybody. You heard it. It took 460 whatever episodes this is. Yeah, I can't say I've had that answer before, but here we are.
I want to apologize to anyone who's really saddened by my answer.
I think they'll get over it. I'm already over it. So if I'm over it, you all should get over it too.
Thank God.
All right. Well, we'll slide over to Patreon and see what kind of shenanigans we can get into over there. Does that work for you? All right. All right, everybody. For Nate, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones.
Alrighty, folks, there you go. There's another episode in the can. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I enjoyed recording it. And if you need more, well, I've got a couple options for you these days. You can go over to Patreon and help support this show, keep this programming on the interwebs and the lights on over here. For just $5 a month, you get access to the extra conversations, of which there is one with Nate this week. And you also get access to the ad-free feed. That's patreon.com/tonemob. Or if you need more blabbering and you want it for free, you can check out my new podcast with my buddy Scott Marquardt called Tape Spaghetti, where we go over the weird side of music. We go over the strange side, the tales you maybe have heard in passing or maybe a rumbling or two about, but we dive into that stuff. We have some really fun episodes over there, and you can get it wherever you are getting this fine content as well. And of course, I'm still doing the Chasing Tone podcast with my buddy Brian Wampler and my fine British feathered friend, Mr. Richard Oliver, over on, well, wherever you're getting this as well, at the Chasing Tone podcast. So thank you all so much for all of the support for all these years. I got a lot of stuff headed your way, and I'm going to keep interneting real hard for you so you don't have to. All right, folks, later.